Have you experienced the awesome power of the Panasonic Real 3DO system? Obviously.
Presenting 3DO, the most advanced home gaming system in the universe. It's time to put away your toys.
3DO from Panasonic, Gold Star, and Creative Labs. A new low price and free games.
Mind-blowing graphics of Panasonic Real 3DO. 3DO.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about the 3DO console, the company behind it, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is my co-host, Thrak. How you doing, Thrak?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Typical Monday. Just tired. But,
All you Garfield people, you're not allowed a good Monday, I guess.
No, it's weird. Like, I can sleep for like 12 hours, and I'll still feel tired on a Monday for whatever reason.
Yeah, for me, Mondays are usually pretty chill days because I go into work on Sundays, and usually Sundays are like really busy. So
Gotcha.
Mondays typically are a bit quieter, so I get to like catch up on some podcasts and things like that. So I don't mind Mondays for the most part.
Mondays just suck for me because usually I go into work at 6, but for some reason on Mondays they won't let us in till 7 because apparently coming in at 6 counts as triple time for whatever reason.
Triple time? I didn't know that was a thing.
Because it's a Sunday and it's technically a non-working day, so they count it as triple time.
Interesting.
But yeah, so they
I
won't
wish
let
I
us.
got that. I wish I got that pay working on a Sunday.
They don't like to give it out.
No way.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll let you work the holidays and you can get triple time on holidays, but
yeah,
I'm not crazy and I'll never work stuff like that.
Fair enough. You're not my uncle who paid a little too much for his house, so he does like gas, so yeah. He basically volunteers to be on call like a lot of the time, and we're always like, why do you like work like 80 plus hours a week, and he's like in his mid-50s, but he's like, oh, I gotta pay for this house, but that's a whole nother thing.
You gotta do what you gotta do. I mean, I work my 8 hours overtime every week. Sometimes I'll do like 6 on a Saturday, but that's enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, other than that, though, I've been just trying to catch up on a few games, playing a lot of Uncharted Golden Abyss.
Nice. I've been playing your favorite game, Persona 4.
It never gets old to me.
And this is my second time playing it, so I am about 6 hours in. Basically, I'm at the point where you catch up with Yukiko after getting her out of the dungeon, and like you're at Junes chatting with everybody, and Adachi comes in. That's basically where I'm at. So still very early. But as I was telling some people, this is my side bitch game. So I'll be playing this on the Vita, just kind of on the side. Like I'll take it to work and everything. But usually when I'm at home, I'll be playing. Well, what I'm playing right now is Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. So I play that when I'm here, and that game's fantastic. I'm over halfway through it. So
I like how that game's considered like a decent Assassin's Creed game, but it's considered like one of the greatest pirate games ever made.
Yeah, because have you played it?
Yeah, I played it back when it came out on PS4 at launch. I enjoyed it for the most part.
Yeah, the Assassin stuff is good, but not great in my opinion. Like I think 3 Assassin stuff's a little bit stronger, but it makes up for that by having really good pirate stuff. Like the ship, like sailing around on the ship is great. Raiding other ships is a lot of fun. And me being me, like I'll just be sailing on the seas, and then there'll be a little tiny island with like a treasure chest or an amebis fragment or whatever. And I'll just like stop the ship, jump off, and just swim to it. Be like, hold on, and swim to it, and then I'm like, all right, back to it. It reminds me a lot of when I played Wind Waker, and like I'm not a big Zelda guy, but Wind Waker I love that to death because I love the whole sailing around, and like I don't know, I took a couple hours once in Wind Waker. Once it opens up, I just like filled in every square. Like I sailed that entire map. And
so you were like in like the minority of the demographic for Wind Waker because most people hated the sailing.
I love it. I love it so much. Like I love that song. That's probably my favorite Zelda tune. I love that tune, and I just loved sailing around. It was so much fun for me. Like I don't know what it is. Like I get really like seasick when I'm on a boat for real, but in like Wind Waker or even like Black Flag, probably other pirate games, I should start playing more of them. Like I just love it. I can't get enough of it. All about it.
Really makes me wish Sega would make another Skies of Arcadia.
Well,
It was
that's
such a
that's
good
sailing
RPG.
in the sky. That's a little different.
Yeah, there was just
Yeah.
something funny about a Sky Pirate RPG. It was just
Yeah.
a blast.
Well, they should just bring Skies of Arcadia back before they make a sequel.
True.
You know, because if I remember correctly, there was a rumor that during the 360 days when they were putting a bunch of Dreamcast games on Xbox Live Arcade, that one of them was going to be Skies of Arcadia. I think they even confirmed it, but it never came out.
No, there's
And
also
nobody
a
really
remake.
knows why.
Yeah, Sega during that period was a mess.
Yeah, but they actually cared about the Dreamcast, which is weird because they barely talk about it now. And
Yeah, it's weird,
and
like,
they should do something with it. They really
they-
need to.
They cared about the Dreamcast for like a year, released a couple of games for it on like all these services, and then just completely forgot about it.
Was it because it was like the 10-year anniversary? Because it was like 2009 when they started doing that.
It might have been.
So it's the only thing I could gather. But like if they made like a Dreamcast Mini, like a little mini Sega Dreamcast console, I'd buy that. I'd buy that immediately. With it, I'd pre-order it, and I don't like pre-ordering stuff. But
Yeah,
like, come on, Sega. As much as I love Sega, it upsets me how they sit on a treasure trove of classic IP and do nothing with it. Like they're the worst at that. You know,
Yeah.
people complain about it with Nintendo, and that's fair, but Sega are like the ultimate culprits for that. You know?
yeah. With Nintendo, it's like the only real major offender is like F-Zero. I mean, because like whenever they've
Yeah.
brought out other franchises like Star Fox, like no one buys the game, and then like they're like, oh, I guess no one likes it, and it's like, no, it's because you made a shit game, Nintendo.
Though, if they brought Star Fox Zero to Switch, it would probably sell better.
Honestly, if they just gave Star Fox Zero a competent control scheme, it would be fine. Like the game itself
Yeah.
wasn't bad. It was just it had the most unnecessarily convoluted control scheme for that kind of game.
And if they brought it to Switch, that's what they would do. They would just give it normal flight controls. It'd probably just play like Star Fox 64 or something, and people would eat it up.
Yeah.
They would just eat it up.
Yep. Unfortunately, this is Nintendo, and they don't ever do anything that makes sense.
Sometimes they do.
They're selective
sometimes.
on it. Like
Yes, very selective.
they do things that make sense, but not things that the fans would want them to do. Basically,
Yeah, to a degree, but you do run into issues when you're constantly trying to give the fans quote what they want or what they think they want.
that's the
'cause-
key. Because
well,
most fans don't know what they want.
Exactly. So Nintendo tries to circumvent that expectation, and sometimes it works. I mean, the Switch kind of circumvented that because after the Wii U, everyone's like, just make like a PS4 with a Nintendo logo on it. They didn't do it, and this sold better than the PS4. So, like if you've ever read articles from like the Wii U era about Nintendo with like now's context, they're really funny.
Yeah, like how everyone thought they were going to go Sega.
Yeah, when everyone thought they were going to go third party, and I was of the mind like they won't. Like they could take a Wii U, and they did. I was like, if the Switch didn't improve things, then I would have been concerned. But
Well, my favorite part about that was like everyone's like, "Oh, they're failing. They're going to go Sega." And I'm sitting here going like, "Do people not realize the 3DS is selling like really well? Like
yeah,
doing well in the background there?"
and Nintendo has a lot of money in the bank. They're very smart with their money, unlike Sega.
Yes.
So they could take hits and be okay.
That is true.
As has been proven, you know, and now they're doing probably better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't even think they need to release a Switch 2.
They will.
They should.
No, they will.
No, they will eventually. I just don't think they need to because the Switch is still selling.
Well, there's that VGC article about the Switch 2's in development now. Like dev kits have been given out to third parties, so
Yeah,
it makes sense. It's been like 6 years now,
true.
so it's time to upgrade, I think. And if it's backwards compatible, it'll be my first day one console ever.
It should be theoretically backwards compatible. Like
It's a standard now, especially with digital libraries. It needs to be a standard. Like, I mean, think about it with your phone. Like when you get a new phone, all your apps carry over. Like imagine if it wasn't like you upgraded your iPhone, your Galaxy, whatever, to the next model, and then like half your apps weren't there, you'd be pissed.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
I
mean,
think it goes with game consoles as well.
it's funny thinking back on it, like with the Sega. Like one last point before we move on to our topic, like you think like the Sega Genesis, like a lot of people didn't realize just how important like the fact that it was technically backwards compatible was.
Yeah, but you had to buy the power base converter,
Which was
that
literally a
little
piece of
add-on.
which was literally just a piece of plastic that just changed the cartridge slot.
Yeah, it was a cartridge slot. Yeah, because it doesn't the Genesis have the Master System's like hardware baked into it.
Yes, it uses the Master System's processor and sound hardware as like backup chips for the Genesis's overall
Yeah,
construction.
because I've heard some really cool YouTube clips where they break down like Sega Genesis like music, like they break it up by the tracks, and I think it's like the Genesis sound chip has 4 channels, and then there's an extra 2 channels that are the Master System.
Yes.
And a lot of times for that they'll use like say like the hi-hat sound or some like like square synth bass sounds, and then let the Genesis stuff kind of carry everything over, and it's a really cool blending of sound. If you care at all about old school video game music, it's really interesting to hear how it was created at the time with the limitations that they had.
Like a lot of people will give the Genesis crap for its sound card, and I always say like, yeah, the Super Nintendo was significantly more impressive just based on like what it was doing, but I think the Genesis stuff was equally impressive just for what they were doing with so much less at the time.
And for me, like FM synthesis has more character than that like sort of MIDI sound that the Super Nintendo has.
I think basically the way it worked was the Genesis used like sound manipulation where like it would change, like it had a set selection of sounds and it would manipulate them into different sounds, and that's kind of how it would work. The Super Nintendo, on the other hand, used like sampling, I believe.
Yeah, but like very early sampling, and they had to compress a lot of the sounds that they would create. Like there's YouTube clips of like people finding like the Super Mario World soundtrack and uncompressing it. So you hear the full spectrum of sound they were going for. And it sounds very like 90s MIDI CD stuff. Like it has that quality, but on the Super Nintendo, it has to get compressed. So it has sort of that kind of, compressed sound to it. Whereas with the Genesis, I believe it's using the Yamaha YM2612, which is an FM synthesis chip.
And then the Zilog, like I forget what number it is.
Yeah, which I think is for the Master System.
Yes.
And yeah, like I just love the sound of FM synthesis. Like it's a very sort of 80s sound, but just for me personally, it has a lot of character.
I still say to like this day, the Genesis has the greatest bass and drum sounds of any console.
It's up there for sure. Because I think once we like the 32X brought like sampling for like the drum sounds.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, like it's weird. Like the Super Nintendo was very primitive sampling, but I think it had like a charm to it.
Yeah, there's some great stuff on the Super Nintendo as far as music is concerned. Like all the Donkey Kong Country games, Super Metroid, Star Fox, the Final Fantasy games,
Chrono Trigger, Earthbound,
the Dragon Quest games, even Super Mario World, Link to the Past. But they just, for me, like they're great for the most part, within the context of the game. But a lot of times personally, if I'm in the mood to just listen to some video game music or like some chip tunes, I'll put on Sega Genesis stuff and just listen to that as music.
It's honestly more impressive just for what they did with what they had.
Yeah, but I just like Moonwalker has so much, like the Michael Jackson tunes that are played through the Sega Genesis sound chip. They just have so much character to them, They're just a lot of fun. And then games like Earthworm Jim and Booger Man and the Road Rash games, and even Aladdin, like they all sound really, really good.
Comic Zone sounds like a straight up grunge album.
Oh yeah, but yeah, stuff like with Earthworm Jim or Booger Man. Like I think the soundtracks are better on the Genesis and the Super Nintendo.
They are, because I believe they were designed for the Genesis in mind.
Yeah, and it fits really well. And of course, the Sonic games sound phenomenal.
Phantasy Star 4 is another one that's really good as well.
And I love the Shining Force soundtracks, of course. In fact, my alarm every morning is the Shining Force 2 town theme.
Nice.
I hear that every morning, and I have yet to get sick of it, which I've been having as my thing for years now. So
it's better than the stock like alarm sound I used to wake up.
Yeah, I hate those because it would just piss me off. So
See, they're so annoying that's why I use them, because it's the only thing that will wake me up in the morning.
fair enough.
But
I should use the Persona 4 battle theme to wake up, or like the when you win. Period.
That's a
Period.
good one.
I love that tune. Like I'll put that on like a half-hour loop.
Oh, there's so many winners in Persona 4 soundtrack. Shoji Meguro is just like probably one of my favorite composers of all time.
Did he do 5 as well?
He did 3 through 5, and he did select tracks on 2, I believe.
Okay, yeah, because the soundtracks are so like it's like how are they this good? Like it's ridiculous.
I imported 5 soundtrack after playing original 5 for like an hour because I was that up into it. I was like, I need to own this physically.
I'm glad they're all on Spotify.
I'm so glad they finally
so
did that.
happy. Yes, yes. Well, I think Sega has really pushed putting a lot of the soundtracks for their games on Spotify, like Sonic stuff, Yakuza stuff, even like the Outrun soundtracks.
Mm.
Like I love the version of Magical Sound Shower from Outrun 2 Coast to Coast. I love that like live band version of Magical Sound Shower, and it's on there, and it's like on my like normal rotation playlist. It's so good.
Yeah. And they put like the E-Tree Odyssey stuff up there, and you got to hear some great Shakiro music, which is great.
Ooh, yeah. I don't know if the Streets of Rage stuff's on there, but if it's not, it should be.
Yeah, Genesis stuff is where it gets a little more.
I mean, well, the Sonic 1 and 2 soundtracks are on there, but
which is interesting because Sega technically doesn't own the rights to those.
Well, yeah, but I think they were released separately by the original composer.
That would make sense.
Yeah, I actually have the physical of that. So
nice.
It's so good.
But yeah, anyways, so this is a 3DO.
Aren't we a 3DO show? Yeah, what the hell is this?
Just a little 15-minute warm up to just talking about current events, I guess.
Yeah, this is all staying in.
Yeah, no, I don't delete anything unless it's like really bad, but that never happens. So
unless I say like "fuck" really loud or something.
Yeah, I leave. It's all good. But anyways, so yeah, 3DO. For this episode, we played quite possibly one of the most what the fuck 3DO games I think I've ever experienced.
I feel like it's probably not the weirdest 3DO game.
No,
but it's top 5 at least.
It's one of those games that, so for those who don't know, or well, I mean, you should know, we mentioned at the end of the last episode, we're talking about Twisted the Game Show, which is, I think, the perfect name for this game because, oh my god, it is twisted.
It is a strange thing. Like, it radiates 90s PC game energy.
And the funniest part about it is, like, the whole time playing it, my thoughts were, this is awful, but at the same time, I'm like, but this is also the greatest thing I've ever played.
I don't think it's awful. I think it's memorable. The only issues I would have with it maybe are just like as a game itself, like as a board game show kind of thing. It's not the most. It doesn't have the most solid foundation for one.
Yeah.
But it makes up for it with a lot of character and personality.
It definitely has personality. That's for sure.
Yes, especially our host, the Twink.
Yeah. So I should probably clarify, when I say awful, I mean awful in like the good way. Like,
yeah, like a Tommy was so awful.
Yeah, like it's like you're watching a dumpster fire and you just can't look away because you're like, what's going to happen next?
And you can tell they had a lot of fun making this game. Especially, yeah, at certain parts. Like, there's like weird, awkward cuts at sometimes with like, because this is FMV. Like, This game is basically an FMV game. And there's a lot of times where it feels like there's weird, like, awkward cuts. And I feel like they made those cuts because whoever the actor was probably just like was about to bust out laughing from what they were doing. But it was a good take, so they just had to cut it real quick.
I'm convinced the host was on some sort of substance during the making of this game.
That man was high on life.
So I guess a little backstory into Twisted the Game Show. Despite the Electronic Arts logo on this game, it was not actually made by Electronic Arts. They just published it. This game was actually made by 3DO's in-house studio known as Studio 3DO. And for those who don't know, Studio 3DO later just kind of became the 3DO company after 3DO went third party.
Yeah.
And they made a lot of games for the 3DO during its life, a lot of the more well-known games because one thing I'll give the 3DO company credit for was they did design the console specs, but they also did make a decent amount of hardware to support it, even if it wasn't all quality at the time.
Yeah, they're pumping out games like crazy because I think they needed to. Because when you're trying to like establish yourself as like a new hardware, um, like a new like hardware manufacturer in the console space, you need that steady stream of like first party output. Because when it comes to any console, it's like, oh, what do you have that you can't play anywhere else? And for 3DO, they were trying to, oh, we have all this stuff,
Yeah.
But I do find it interesting that Electronic Arts published this game. Do you think they published it because of like the Trip Hawkins connection, or do you think they were maybe just running low on money for this project, so they needed EA to kind of help
So
get it to the finish line? You think
this was a very early 3DO game. Like this was like
Mhm.
93, 94 when it came
Yeah,
out. And I
yeah.
believe,
Wikipedia is not. They're not 100% on when this came out. They just say 93, I think.
yeah, I believe Trip was still somewhat involved with three
Yeah.
EA at the time. He wasn't. So he resigned from the board of EA in 94, like July 94, July of 94.
Okay.
So he might have still been part of the board at this point.
Okay.
So I assume he probably just was like, "Could you do us a solid and help
Okay.
help fund this thing?"
Okay. According to Wikipedia's list of 3DO games, they have the date for North America as April 15th, 1994.
Okay,
So tax day.
nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this was a pretty early game on 3DO, and it's also one of probably the most well-known 3DO games. Like you can finding copies of Twisted is pretty easy. It's not an uncommon game for the system.
Yeah, I think my complete in box copy was like less than $30.
I think I paid like 20 for mine.
Yeah.
And it's one of the really nice high quality big boxes with like the plastic like
Yep.
claps on the end that it's basically like an old school DVD case.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, because I have the big box of it with the manual and everything. It's in really good shape.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I guess to describe what this game is, it's essentially a party game / board game, kind of like an early Mario Party-ish game, only not as well.
I would not compare this to Mario Party.
It's like Mario Party if it wasn't designed well at all.
It's like Mario Party if you were on a NyQuil buzz the whole time.
Yeah.
To quote the friend that I succumbed to playing this game with me.
How did that go?
It was okay because my first playthrough was single player, and then I learned, oh, you kind of can't do it single player, like kind of, not really. So I just went to my IRL friends group chat. Yes, I have IRL friends, and said to him like, "Hey, I need some help with this next 3DO episode." And one of them's like, "I'm there," and he didn't ask the game or anything. So he's like, "What are we playing?" And then I showed him, and he's just like, "What the fuck is this?" And then we ended up playing it. And he's like, that was certainly an experience, man. That was,
See, this is a game that I'm convinced would be like amazing at like a party where everyone's just like wasted, and you just throw this on in the background and just see what happens.
What's weird is I would be curious to like a modern remake of this.
That would be interesting, but there is some stuff in this game that I don't think would go over well nowadays.
Well, what I mean by that is there are some like indie studios now who focus on like FMV stuff.
Mm.
Like you have like the Sam Barlow stuff, though he wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. But you have like some other like FMV games are starting to pop up more and more, especially on like the Steam page, because I think the technology's gotten better and just like game design in general has improved since then. So people use the FMV to sort of enhance what they're trying to do, or use it to tell like a unique sort of give a unique experience, rather than this era where they were just trying to cram it into like everything.
Yeah.
So it would be interesting to see one of those more like indie FMV studios tackle a game of this manner. Like it could be potentially like a Twitch streaming hit, like if it had like online multiplayer. Like imagine like an FMV game crossed with like Jackbox, you know?
That I could see working very well.
Yeah, because weirdly enough, wasn't it like the original Jackbox came out on PlayStation a couple years after this?
I believe so.
Yeah, and I don't want to say this influenced it, but that's also like a game show type game that definitely has a lot of visual stuff that is memorable and is trying its best to be kind of wacky and weird, you know. But I think you don't know Jack. What it has over this game is probably the replayability, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But it's almost you could make a line connection to it. Maybe, I'm not sure. I could be pulling this out of my ass, but this definitely fits into that sort of like, I don't know if you know Red Letter Media at all.
I do.
But okay, so Rich Evans, our Lord and Savior, once coined the term commercial surrealism, and he used it for like a lot of stuff in the 90s that was like just trying to be weird for no reason, you know, like a lot of fisheye lens stuff and a bunch of colors, and you probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
like a lot of the stuff in the 90s was trying to be just wacky, but unlike a lot of genuine surrealism or avant-garde art, there's some sort of intention or meaning behind what they're trying to do. This, not really. Like, if there's any intention, it's just meant to be like eye-catching or maybe be a little bit funny. But another connection I had when we were playing this, I said to my friend, I feel like Tim and Eric may have been a fan of this game.
Possibly.
Like, you can make, especially with like the weird commercial breaks in between, like in the middle of the game, they'll be like, oh, we'll be right back, and they'll just do like a random commercial for some like a box of nothing for that's like an invisible dog toy, and then and it's like dumb dog not included or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm watching this and I'm like, I feel like Tim and Eric was a fan of this, if not this, but this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So I guess to get into the game itself, so this game is almost 100% FMV. It like 90% of the characters that you'll play as in this game are also FMV characters, which I found incredibly entertaining because they are all like the most like insane parodies out there.
It's technically 83% because it's 5 out of 6.
I'm not great at math.
I'm just being a dick.
I know.
But yes, 5 out of the 6 playable characters are FMV people, and they're all interesting.
Amazing.
Yes.
So we got our good our boy Warmington. He's a used car salesman
with his little dog.
He is arguably the least crazy out of all of them, in my opinion.
Where service is a slogan.
Yes. We also had Madame Elaine, a late night fortune teller. In my first playthrough, she got stuck on the Wheel of Doom for like the entire game. That was fun.
Oh, damn. I love her catchphrase. It's call me at 1-900 Elaine. I can read your mind and you should be ashamed.
Yeah, that was funny.
There is some decent comedy in this game.
Yeah. We had Johnny Powell, an Asian American who was
a greaser.
Yeah, pretty much. He looked straight out of like Grease.
Happy Days.
Yeah,
or Happy Days. Yeah, he looks like a Fonzie guy. I'm surprised he didn't do the A, but you know, maybe that's veering a little too close to the edge.
Yeah, he's actually one of the few people that actually you can find on IMDb, like with
really?
An actual picture. He was played by Tohoru Masamune.
Did he do anything else? Anything notable?
Apparently he was in Michael Bay's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so.
Oh, really? Was he just one of the many ninjas?
I'd have to like look closer. Honestly, he might have been. He looks like he could have been.
Not to like stereotype him or anything, but you know, this is Hollywood we're talking about.
Oh, Warmington was played by Paul Jackson. He actually has a picture as well. I'm not sure what else he was in though.
According to IMDb, he was Shredder.
Oh.
He was Shredder.
The more you know.
Hell yes, man. Hell yes.
Going on from Johnny Powell, though, then we had my personal favorite just because of how much of a parody he was. We had Humble Howard.
Oh, Humble Howard, yeah.
who was
Eternal
basically a parody of those like ultra religious like televangelists that you'd see all the
Yeah.
time on TV.
Yeah. Oh, what was the big one? What's his name? Oh crap, I can't remember his name. He's like the big one from the '90s. Not like Robertson, but I'm thinking of like the one who's like, I believe, because
I know who you're talking about. I just
yeah,
can't
because
think of his
well,
name.
because Genesis, they had that song Jesus He Knows Me, which was like a parody of that stuff as well, and it was kind of around the same time actually, and it was and Phil talked about there was a specific one. It was like Jimmy Swagger or something that like that's the one he really liked because he's just like fascinated by like these weirdos. Jimmy Swagger, that's the one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think he had the scandal around this time as well. Like he was like he had like he was married, but he was hiring prostitutes and sex workers, and he had that infamous like apology like appearance where he's just like I have sinned against you, Lord, and he's just like crying and everything, and like I think that was for the first one, and then he just went ahead and did it again.
Of course.
Yeah, apparently he still does stuff, at least as far as I know. Like these televangelists are I mean, I could go on about them, but they're fascinating characters. But
yeah, and Humble Howard is a very on the nose parody.
Yes. Eternal security in the kingdom of Humble Howard. Operators are standing by.
Yep. And then one of my personal favorites in the game is the last live action one, Major Steel.
Oh yeah, she like wasn't the first one. It's like they just like had a random picture of like it could have been from like the first Gulf War, probably not, but it was just like just a bunch of soldiers like around a corner about to go into like a building, and they just really badly superimpose her face on one of them, and they're like the wager of war crimes or something.
Yeah, she's like literally like imagine like one of those crazy aerobics instructors if she was like a military theme.
Yeah, like it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I think on my playthrough I had her, Howard Humble, Madame Elaine, and then the final character, the only one that isn't full motion video, Uncle Fez.
The true hero of this game.
He's
Uncle
a Pez
Fez.
dispenser.
A CGI Pez dispenser. Terminator 2 eats your heart out. The CG on this Pez dispenser is out of this world.
Yeah, he's a Pez dispenser that I really, it's like borderline on one of those points where I'm like, I can't tell if this is offensive or not.
I think it is offensive.
I think that was the joke. I was kind of like,
you hear him talk like this with the fez on the top of his head, and you're thinking, "Oh God, 1994."
I was like, that's one of those moments where you played and you're just like, this was a different time, and I'm just gonna pretend. I'm just gonna stay in this time period when I play this.
Yeah, yeah. Because I played it. Because as I said, I played it twice. The first time, I had Johnny Powell, Humble Howard, and Major Steel. And then when I played it with my friend, I was Uncle Fez, he was Wormington. So I never got to see Madame Elaine and sort of how she interacted with the board. But
and then we should probably mention our two other characters. You don't play as them, but they're very prominent in the game. We have our host, Mr. Twink.
Twink Fizdale.
That's a name that has a different connotation these days.
He still fits.
Yeah, he looks he looks kind of like Chandler Bing from Friends. I'm not gonna lie.
I kind of see it.
If he was like on like crack the entire time. And then
that's pretty good.
I can't remember her name, but there's also the
like the Vanna White parody.
Yeah. Who I love because every time you fuck up a mini game, she just gives you the thumbs down and like makes a raspberry at you. It's great.
Yeah. Or when you roll like 0, she just brings out like what looks like a flotation device for a kid, and it's all black, and it's just a 0.
Yeah.
And she's just like, look at this 0, look at this shit. And then, but you're forgetting our final the narrator,
right? Yep.
Our sort of voiceover guy that every game show has. Which he's good. I feel like I should know that voice. I've heard it before.
So the IMDb page lists like a bunch of random people who are in this, but none of them are listed as the narrator, so it could be anyone.
Yeah, because it's like I know that voice. It's if you've heard it, like listeners, if you heard it, you'd probably go, yeah, I've heard that somewhere. It's probably one of those guys that just like gets a lot of work, but isn't like a big name. which I feel like probably in this line of work, that's the best way to go. Like get a bunch of work, but like you're not super famous, so you can like still live a normal life.
Yeah. Moving past the characters now, getting into the actual game itself, it's a very much a party game style board game, but to say this game is completely random would be an understatement.
Is it random though?
Sometimes it feels random.
But like what it offers is really limited.
Yeah.
You know, like it's hard for me to want to play this again after doing 2 different sessions of it. You know,
Yeah,
because it
there's
feels
not
like
a whole lot
there's
to
not.
offer.
Yeah. So like the board itself is like 90 spaces in like a spiral sort of staircase kind of thing. And when you hit 90, you win. Like that's it. There's no final challenge. There's no like extra stuff you have to do. It's just when you get to 90, you win.
Yes.
Which I think kind of sucks because usually with most like game shows or board games like this, like you have to do something before you get there. You know what I mean? It's not like, say, Chutes and Ladders, where the challenge is getting there because of all the obstacles, and then it feels like an accomplishment because you somehow actually got there. But with like a game show, it's like there's no final Jeopardy, there's no like fast money round, there's no showcase, like there's nothing like that to be like, oh, you got to like the final space, but you need to complete this one special challenge. And if you can't do it, you go back to like 89 and you get to try again, but it lets the other person catch up.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of like, the best way to describe it is it's kind of like a race where you're basically just kind of like going turn after turn and whoever gets to the top first wins.
Yeah, by rolling the cyber die.
Yeah, which is like this weird like board thing, and it kind of like a bunch of numbers will add up to your roll total.
Yeah, it simulates like 0 through 6. So it's like a regular die, but with a 0 in there.
Yeah. You can kind of time it if you pay attention. I usually just mash through it just because I was after like 30 turns, I was like, fuck this, just get through it.
Yeah. Though I do like the little tune that plays when it's time for the cyber die.
Yeah, the music in this game is, it's not memorable at all, but it's catchy, like when you play it.
Yeah, it fits with the aesthetic,
And I guess talking about the board itself now, there is a number of different like tiles you can land on, including the challenge space squares, which are the yellow ones. Those are the ones that lead directly to mini games.
Mm-hmm.
There's the bonus square, the green spaces, or orange, and those are roll again.
Which is really weird to me that it's just like they call it the bonus square, but it's just a roll again.
Pretty much.
Like it doesn't give you anything else.
Nope. There's also the bozo square, which is just a red space with a yellow triangle, and
the bozo square.
You lose a turn basically,
and your player gets really mad at you.
Yeah. They also the characters all like react to like what happens in game, and their reactions are great.
Yes, and it has it's using a camera angle of like those old like demo kiosks during the GameCube era where you have to tilt your neck up. Like you don't have to break your neck to look at the screen.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're looking at when they're basically saying like, I'm going to, like, we're Major Steel. She's going to be like, I'm going to murder you if you don't get me off this bozo square.
Yeah. They get like berated by the narrator too throughout the game. It's great. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah. Like you can tell the host is having a blast with this.
Yeah.
Because he's saying like the dumbest shit, but he's like hamming it up and he's like leaning into it, So like, I don't think anybody's really taking this game that seriously on like the acting side.
I'm sure when they were making it, they had a blast.
Yeah. Twink was played by a guy named Kurt Branham.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anything else on him.
It's his only credit. So,
and then
a shame because I think he could have been in like wouldn't it have been great, like going back to Tim and Eric, if they somehow found him and put him in a sketch.
I'm surprised no one on YouTube has like found this guy. I guess no one cares enough about 3DO to like do a deep dive.
He has a website.
I'll have to look into that later.
I'm looking at his modern face now.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think he does a lot of like Broadway stuff.
Oh,
That's what it looks like. Yeah, it kind of makes sense.
I mean, he was a little
bit of his acting I saw. Yeah,
he was pretty good at what he was doing. So
for sure.
And then the final space on the board is the most annoying one, and that is the Wheel of Torture, which is the purple space. And essentially, this just sends you to this mini game of its own called the Wheel of Torture, where you're basically stuck on this spinning wheel, and you have to match 3 shapes in a row. And if you fail, you basically just are stuck there until you succeed, and you can be literally stuck there for the entire game.
Which, yeah, because like the timing on the matching the 3 is kind of weird. But
yeah, it's like
for me, I didn't have that many issues with it.
It was weird. It was like on and off for me. Like sometimes I'd get it right away, and then other times I'd be stuck there for like 7 turns, and I'd be like, "All right, this is bizarre."
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's basically it. The for the board. And what's hilarious too is if you land on a space with another player occupying it, you just immediately get another roll because you can't have 2 people on one.
Which is really weird and kind of dumb.
My guess is it was because they didn't want to record more footage of having 2 characters on the screen at once.
Oh, that would have been funny if they're like, "Oh, you occupy the same square," and then the 2 of them like start arguing, and then it's like a little mini game to see like who wins the square.
That honestly
Like,
would have
that
been
actually would have been cool.
Yeah, that probably would have been better. Like if they ever
Yeah.
were to remake this game, like we were saying earlier, that would be a good thing to change.
Oh yeah, like I think if they remade this game now, they would lean into like the characters interacting with each other because they don't at all in the game, which feels like such a missed opportunity.
I have no confirmation on this. This is just a guess. My guess is they only paid for these actors for so much time.
Yeah,
and that's all they got, basically.
Probably. Yeah, this game didn't seem like it had the highest budget. So it looks like it was all recorded in a green screen room.
Yeah.
And they probably just got like half dozen takes of everything. And we're just like, all right, we need to keep going.
That's probably why.
Like I imagine they probably had like Twink. They probably had him the longest.
I assume.
Because he probably had a lot of different stuff to go through.
That's honestly,
and he's front and center on the box.
That's honestly probably why too Uncle Fez exists. Just they probably like needed an extra character, and they're like, let's just make one CG to save money.
That makes a lot of sense because it's like he's just randomly there. Like why? And like nobody brings up that he's completely different. They're just like, yeah, it's Uncle Fez.
Oh, another fun thing about this game too is you can pick the difficulty for how you want the board game to go, and the difficulty select screen is literally the character in a fishbowl, and the higher the difficulty, you basically drown them the higher you go.
I thought it was a beaker, like one of those high school chemical beakers.
That's probably what it was. I just assumed.
Yeah, because it's child, adult, and expert. But there's also a none option.
I picked the none option just to see what it did. It literally, I don't think it changes anything, to be honest.
Oh, is it the same as like child?
Honestly, it felt random. Like at times, I think that's where my randomness comes from. I feel like it just kind of like lets the computer choose.
Okay, because I played expert, and I know for expert, the only thing I could guess, because I was expert, and then my friend did the child one, and the only thing I could guess is with the expert, the trivia is a lot harder. And that I think they maybe give you like probably for what the zapper mini game, like I imagine they give you less chances to fuck up in that one. You know what I mean?
So what's fun too about that difficulty select screen is too, like all the characters they have different photos taken for each level as the water rises, and my favorite is like when you get to like the highest, they're all just drowning except for Major Steel, who like pulls a snorkel out of nowhere.
Like it's not even a military themed snorkel either.
It's just a random snorkel.
Yeah.
Also, they gave Uncle Fez like swim trunks, which I thought was kind of funny.
Of course, you don't want to see his Pez, you know.
Yeah, yeah, you just see it during gameplay.
His little mini Pez, you know what I mean?
I wonder. They had to have not. I don't think they had actual licensing from the Pez company to do that. I think that's why he used Uncle Fizz.
Which is weird because like the Pez dispenser is patented.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they got away with it because it is obviously a Pez dispenser. Like there's no mistaking that. So, but do you think Pez actually cared?
I doubt it because like who, other than like 3DO fanatics, who really remembers this game?
Yeah, exactly.
So the next aspect of gameplay is the matrix, which is basically how the mini games are selected. And I thought it was an interesting idea how they chose the mini games, especially if you have like a full 4-player game going.
Yeah. Now, question: if you have more than one controller, does everybody just get their own controller, or do you have to still switch between the one controller? Because all I had was the one.
So I didn't test this. I probably should have. I didn't think about it. I
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an option because it didn't really seem like it changed it. It didn't really give an option anywhere.
Because there's a lot of controller swapping in this game.
Yes. So the way the Matrix works is basically like player one will pick either A, B, and C. And it's kind of like it's a 3x3 graph, essentially. And the first player picks A, B, and C for the vertical side, and then the second player will pick A, B, or C for the horizontal side, and essentially it'll cross the board, and wherever it lands on the board is what mini game it'll end up with.
Yeah, mini game or like random thing that happens.
Or my personal favorite, the bomb.
Yeah, the bomb was funny because it's like you get like they'll just randomly select certain mini games on that little 3x3 grid, or other times they'll do like it's weird. They won't mix up, say, like the bomb, the swapping the space on the board, or the roll again. They'll just like randomly pop them in, and when they do, it's always in like the exact same format.
Yeah,
it's almost like there's maybe like 6 or 7 different like 3x3 grids they had, and the game just kind of randomizes them.
So what's funny is I was playing this by myself, and I was literally controlling all 4 players during my last playthrough I did.
I did the same, and it's such a weird, sad feeling playing a game like this by yourself.
Well, what's funny is you start out and you actually try for like the first 30 spaces in the board, and then around like the 50 spot, that's when you stop caring and you just start fucking around. And by that point, I was curious what the bomb animation was for every character because it's hilarious, like their reactions. Like Major Steel has my favorite one. She literally just looks at the screen in terror and goes, "Fire in the hole!" And then it cuts to an actual like stock footage of one of the nuclear bomb tests from the Nevada desert.
Yeah, and they do that for like every character.
It's either
because there's a lot of like old stock footage in this game. Yeah, like the audience is just like an audience from what, like the 50s or maybe like the 40s, even like just black and white footage. And my favorite of those is like it's a bunch of people clapping, and then like an old man like near center of the screen just turns to the camera, like just completely like dead faced, and then just turns right back, and then that's when they cut it. I'm like, I love that guy. He's been dead for a long time though.
I like the what's funny about the bomb like footage is like a lot of they're just like random nuclear bombs going off, but one of them is literally Operation Crossroads, like the water bomb, which is like one of the most famous like shots like of war footage ever. Like it's used in like so many clips.
Yeah,
and like the second I saw that,
it's like you may not know. It's like you may not know where it's from, but you know it.
You've definitely seen it before, just because it's such an iconic shot.
Yeah, and then they like one of the mini games is you like unscrambling like a random like movie clip, and it's probably like old like public domain like sound films or something, because none of them were really familiar to me. Like I've never been that big of a movie buff, so
so there was a bunch of different games. Like, so trivia is probably the most boring out of all of them because it's literally just trivia.
Yeah, and like I did the expert, so I had to answer 3 questions.
Yeah,
and it's a shame that, and it was weird because the first time I did it, like if I didn't know, I would just guess, and then if I didn't know it, the answer was almost always C. So I got into a habit of pushing C, and a lot of times it was right.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. Sometimes I would know, but it was like the trivia was like weirdly specific about certain things. Like when it was pop culture, it would ask about like plays and stuff.
Yeah,
and it's just like I've never been like a musical play guy, so a lot of that stuff, no idea.
See,
like when you think pop culture, I thought it would ask me questions about stuff from like the late 80s or something.
You'd think, but this game doesn't really follow any rules, so
yeah, not really. And then there's like the arts and entertainment, sports, science and tech, like your standard trivia questions, but and it is what it is, kind of a thing.
When I was on the Matrix board, I would always skip trivia just because I was just like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. Who wants to learn?
Another one is Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks was
that name. Come on.
I know.
Come on.
There are 12 doors and windows, and essentially you have to match the 6 different pictures before time runs out. Some of the
Yeah,
times are very strict on these games too, by the way.
yeah, it's just a memory matching game, and it's like it would be like random people faces, random animal faces, or just like nature shots. Like there was no rhyme or reason for like the memory pictures that they gave you, but they're just there, and it's just a matching game. So if you're just real quick on the draw, you could probably get it done.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it whenever it popped up. The
But it's
next
weird
one,
that they repeat this format like a
yes,
couple times.
so including the next one, which is, in my opinion, the most hilarious yet like what the fuck out of all of them. Sound bites,
Sound bites.
where you have to match the former presidents, and they all make different noises.
Yeah, I think it's if I'm correct, it's Herbert Hoover up to Clinton.
Clinton, yeah, because this was
who was
90,
the president at the time.
yes, which makes the most
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like it starts with like a kazoo, do 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 do, and then it's all of them just making the most random noises you can think of. Just like random like fart noises or like wind up toy noises. And like when my friend was doing it, he was struggling with it because he's like, bro, like half these sound the same.
Yeah, they do.
Because they kind of do, but I got really good at it. So I would always try to get sound bites, and then if I did, I would just win. I don't know. Something about my ears can determine the differences in these, but
So-
I think I lost it the first time.
The
And
first
then
I lost it the first time
blazed
too,
through it.
not because of the game. It was more because like the second it popped up on the screen and like I realized what it was, my brain just like broke and like I didn't even realize the timer ran out. And I was like, oh shit! Like I was,
You were just staring at like contemplating your life.
I was just
looking
staring at him
this
like,
board.
what? I was just like, what is this? Like, what am I playing?
It's that meme on Twitter. It's like, oh great, you made this political.
Yeah. So actually, my favorite part about this mini game though is when you match 2 of them, they get shades, and I swear to God, this game
Yep.
predates the Deal With It meme.
Yeah, shades and all their hair gets blonde
Yeah.
for some reason.
I don't know, but
Like,
it
yeah.
popped up and I was like, oh my God, it's the Deal With It meme. Like years before that would ever be a thing.
Exactly, but it's really funny. But and that's the thing, Nothing But a G Thing was out at the time, which I think was part of the Deal With It meme a little bit.
Yeah. See, my
So.
favorite part about that mini game too is like just take the screenshot of that and just post it somewhere without any context and just see what people's reactions would be.
No, maybe like a 5-second clip of it, because I think people would need to see this in action.
Yeah, it's something.
Sound bites. And then sometimes when you mess up or get a mini game right, it'll cut to like photos of, I think it's Jefferson, Lincoln, and Roosevelt either going "aw" or
Yeah.
"yay."
It is the
It's like-
most 90s thing ever.
And it's not even connected to sound bites. It's just randomly.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I ever got it during sound bites. I got it with everything else.
So the next mini game, this one is interesting also and also infuriating. Facelift Salon.
Oh, this was probably one of the harder ones for me.
So basically how this one worked was it was basically one of those like match 3, you have 3 like scrolling lines and you have to match them to make like 3 different faces.
Yeah.
And I swear like this one was finicky as shit because like you'd like move it and it would constantly just be like and you'd be like, all right.
It's maybe the one I would argue is rigged. It feels like it's rigged against you.
See,
'Cause
sometimes
it is so because like the faces are so wacky, and the way they line up half the time it doesn't make any sense.
no, some of them too are like the same face but slightly different, and I'm always like,
Yeah. It says there are 200 different faces the game can choose from, and I imagine most of those are probably like the dev team,
probably.
like just messed up, or probably random like EA publishing people. They probably just got him into a room to take a bunch of pictures.
Sometimes too, you would like scroll it over once and you just win, and you'd be like, "Oh, that was lucky."
Yeah. I think that happened to me. Like one of the few times I won it was because I moved like the hat once, and then the eyes like twice, and I was like, "Oh shit, I got it."
Yeah, it was always funny.
Yeah.
Then moving on, the next game was Zapper.
Ooh, that's a fun game on the GameCube.
Yeah.
That was meant to be a Frogger game, but the dev team, it was working on Frogger, but then they had an issue with Konami, so they left to make the Zapper game while another team continued on the Frog. Oh wait, we're not talking about that, are we?
Yeah. Do we really? do we really want to talk about Frogger: The Great Quest?
I like the Frogger games, man.
Did you like
They're
Frogger:
good.
The Great Quest?
I don't think I played that one.
That's the 3D platformer. That's really bad.
Let me look that one up real quick. Let's see.
It doesn't play like a Frogger game.
Oh yeah, I didn't play that one.
It's bad, really bad.
Yeah, I was talking about like Temple of the Frog.
That's a
like
good
on
one.
GBA. Like that one's good.
That one's
or
real-
Frogger Beyond, like those kind of ones.
Frogger
those
Beyond
ones
is okay.
those ones are good. I like those
well
ones.
because they
though.
play like Frogger games.
Yeah, they're Frogger platformers, but in a way that makes like sense. You know what I mean? Like Ancient Shadow and things like that.
Yeah, the GBA
Yeah.
Frogger. Just before we get back to the Twisted, the GBA Frogger games, I still think are all perfect.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, the one I mentioned, Temple of the Frog. I think I bought that and then beat it within 2 hours of getting it, and I loved it to death. So Anyway.
last thing on Frogger, I will say the best Frogger game is Helmet Chaos on PSP/DS.
that is a good one.
Very
That
well
is
made game.
that is a very good one. Yes.
Okay, back to Twisted.
Okay, sorry for the deviation about
I haven't thought
One
about
Wicked
Zapper in
Cricket.
forever. That's a great game.
One Wicked. It's okay.
It's a good game for what it is.
Yeah, made by Blitz Games.
Yep. R.I.P. So Zapper is basically 12 small TV screens display a black and white video. One switches to a color picture, which the player must select. The player must prevent the color commercial from getting more than 5 seconds of airtime within 30 seconds.
Yeah, this one is really finicky because like on Expert, it is if you fuck up like once, you're done. Like the window they give you, like the difficulty may be determined by how much or how fast the fuse goes down. Because when I was doing it, I think I got it right once, and there was one time I like had 1 second left, and then the fuse hit, and I was so pissed. Like it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that one was a pain. One thing that was interesting was occasionally the 3DO logo will pop up, and if you hit that, you win instantly.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It-
I could have just won it by doing that?
yeah, if you hit the 3DO logo, you win instantly.
No one told me that.
I
It
didn't
might be
know
in the
it either.
manual, but I didn't read the
Yeah,
manual.
well, yeah. I only found out because I was curious what happens if you hit the 3DO logo, and I was like, oh,
Well, shit. I suffered for nothing.
yep.
Ah.
Why would they tell you that? It's just one of those things where they're like,
Well, they could have did like, oh, if you hit that 3DO logo, something special might happen.
Yeah.
Make you go, oh, I should probably do that.
that would make sense, and this game doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Moving on though, next we get the Departure Lounge. I like that name for some reason, Departure Lounge.
Yeah, I like the jazzy like lounge vibe of this one. For no reason, it's just like jazzy.
So this game is basically, it's a picture will pop up on screen, and it will basically kind of scramble into sections. Like I think it's like a 3x3 thing, or it gets more depending on the difficulty level.
Yeah, it's like the only thing I can think to describe it is like, when you'd like go to like say like a playground or something, and they'd have like the big tic-tac-toe board, but it was like triangles that were on like a pivot,
Yeah.
so you would like swap them. That's basically what this is,
Yeah, and basically you just have to recreate the picture that you see before the
Yeah.
game starts.
and it is by far the easiest one.
I'd argue
I didn't struggle with this one at all.
I'd argue the next one is easier, but this one is definitely one of the easiest.
If it's the one you're thinking, I kind of disagree. I found like I don't think I lost this one once.
Yeah. So this one was weird. I had one point where I got the picture right, but it still said it was wrong.
That's weird.
Like it like cut to the unless I just missed out on the timer or something. I don't know.
Maybe like one of them was off and you just didn't know it.
Maybe because some of the water ones in particular were a little hard to judge at times, especially on like with the full motion video.
Yeah, like when my friend was playing it on the trial difficulty, he had one that was like, it was like one of those like dark, like almost purple tinted, like spooky haunted house pictures.
Yeah.
And then the other ones were like orange and like pink or whatever. So it was like the stupid and easiest one ever to do.
Yeah.
because I said to him, I'm like, if they all were the same color but like slightly different shapes, it actually would have been more challenging. But he's like, yeah, but we're playing on like the kid difficulty, so I'm like, yeah, fair enough.
That's true.
Yeah.
So the next game is Mystery Matinee.
Matinee.
Yeah,
Matinee.
I'm tired, people.
Come on, dude. Do I have to be the classy one here?
Probably.
Fucking shit.
It's all right. So this one is actually the one I found the easiest.
I had issues with this one. And I think it came down to the controls, weirdly enough.
So they are a little finicky, but once you figure them out, I had no problem. Basically what this game is it's similar to the previous one, only instead of like being like having to flip each one, it's kind of like one of those like scramblers where you have to like kind of move the pieces around to like align the puzzle correctly.
Yeah, it's like they'll be playing some like scene from like a public domain. I almost said stop motion movie, not really like a live action movie from like, I don't know, the 30s or something. Yeah. And they try to give you a hint with the border around it, but it was so weird because sometimes I would get the border right or sometimes I would mess it up. And I think it's with certain, it could have been just me, but with certain puzzle pieces, if I tried to pick it up, it would go, and I'm like, because it's already set. But yet there were other ones that I could move. It was usually the ones that weren't the corner pieces, but like the edge pieces,
Yeah, sometimes you had to like shuffle them around to get them just right.
Yeah, it's really weird because you can just it's not like a slider. It's set up like a slider puzzle, but it's not a slider puzzle. So in that sense,
it's kind of like you grab one and then you move it, and then when you select it down, it replaces in your cursor with the one that you grabbed, basically.
Yeah, but then if you put it in the empty square, because there would be like an empty square, then you wouldn't have one selected. So you'd be moving around and be like, oh, I actually don't have one. I need to like pick one up. It just the setup of it and the execution just felt kind of like flawed to me. And with it constantly going in motion, it would be really easy to mess one up. To where it's like you think it's right, but then when it's set, it's like, oh, a couple of these are wrong, but like you have 5 seconds left, so you don't really have any time to like fix it. Yeah,
I think I just got really good at it because I would constantly get that one. I like got it down to like a science where I just kind of get the borders all done, and then I'd shuffle the middle and be done in like, I think I got it down to like being able to do it in like 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were easier than others. Like I didn't constantly fail this one, and it's not like it's the hardest one or anything, but just there were a couple times I felt like I messed it up, and it's like I don't feel it was me that messed it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a very simple concept. It's just kind of one of those things where it's like a lot of these are very hit or miss. I'd say.
To me, it's probably of the mini games, it's probably like the second best one because I think Soundbites is the best one just for it. Like matching the vibe of this game. Like Mystery Matinee, I don't know, I just think if it was set up better, I would like it more.
Maybe if it worked like a true sliding puzzle.
Yeah, because I kind of like slider puzzles, but.
And then the final one is also equally insane, but this one, like, I just could never. I did not get this one at all.
Yeah, I kind of hate this. Is the one I hated.
Supermarket
like,
High-Rise.
I genuinely hated this one. The only parts I liked were when you would start it and you'd get that like, and it's just like they just put a camera in like a shopping cart and just like a bunch of random people in a grocery store were just doing random stuff, Yeah. And it's like they didn't get permission to I guarantee you they went to a grocery store to film this. They didn't get permission. They just did it. They just did it.
Similar to like the Pez dispenser, I guarantee this is a case of like nobody, it's just so obscure no one cares, and even if they did, like, who are they going to sue?
I mean, you can film in a grocery store, nobody cares.
True.
It's only if like you specifically film people and they don't want to be filmed, that's when it's a problem.
Yeah.
But I bet everybody that you see is just like paid actors, so at least I'm pretty sure, because they're all doing wacky stuff to the camera. But I don't know, it gave me like, again, a weird comparison. It gave me like, I don't know why, but like it made me think of Tom Green. Like the Tom Green show when he would do shit in public.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It that just popped in my head when I saw that for the first time. I have no idea why.
This one was like the most uncanny to me for some reason. Like something about that, the whole like setup just was like, I'm like, this is just bizarre.
Yeah, the setup and then the minigame itself just sucks.
I don't get
Because
it. I could never figure it out.
So basically what it is they give you a set of items, right? Like for the expert difficulty, I think it's like 16 things, and for like a couple seconds, then it goes away, and then they give you 3, and they're like, okay, which one of these was there? Like the other 2 weren't there, but one of them was, which is weird because usually it's flipped the other way when they do this stuff. Like they'll show you a couple things and they'll be like, okay, which of these wasn't there?
Yeah.
You know? So, because with that, you can kind of guess. But with this, I think I got it right once by pure accident.
That's basically the only time I ever wanted. I'd just guess and it'd be like, oh, cool.
Yeah, like I see what they were trying to go for. I just think flipping it on its head just didn't work. And plus, like having 16 items to look at for a couple seconds, and then they're like, okay, which of these 3 was part of that?
Yeah.
And a lot of them looked similar. Like a lot of times there would be like 2 or 3 different like pairs, but they all looked the same, just like maybe a slightly different angle.
Yeah, it was just one of those mini games that was just kind of like anytime I'd see it on the board, I'd try to avoid it at all costs.
Yeah, it was dumb. It was dumb.
I actually had points where like if I was actually playing multiplayer and like we were like fighting over to get that game, I would have gone with the bomb over that. I would have just taken the bomb.
Well, if we ever play this, I know which one to try to get you with.
I would love this game to be online, just like to get like
yes,
a round of it going.
Oh yes, we could Twitch stream this.
Just to see the react. This is like a game that you get people to play blind just so that you can see their reactions.
Yeah, like I feel like this game would weirdly be a hit on like Twitch or something for just being so wacky.
It really is. You know what's really funny too? Like sometimes you can like, because of how like the actual progression up the ladder works, sometimes you can just get into like a run where you'll go like up like 20 steps on like the ladder.
Yeah.
Because there'll be like a case where you'll land on like say like you'll win a mini game so you get to roll again, and then you'll land on the bonus space so you roll again, and then you land on a space with a person so you roll again, and you just keep going up. And I was like, it just is like one of those things where like you can be like dead last and then suddenly be first just because of randomness.
Yeah, you could you could very easily just like absolutely clear it, but then you could have points where you're just stuck. Like you just keep landing on like lose a turns or
Wheel
like you'll
of torture.
get a wheel of torture or you'll get a bomb or all this other like terrible shit can happen where you can easily get stuck in the same spot.
Yeah, like when I was playing all 4 players, I legit had a point in the game where Madame Elaine was just stuck in the wheel of torture for like half the game, and I was just like, sorry, don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. It's just weird how that works sometimes,
Yeah. Other than that, though, there's really not much more to this game.
Yeah, because when you win, it's just you win.
Yeah, it's like you win, play again.
Yeah, you earn a trip to reality.
Yes. Which I think is kind of meta.
Like we mentioned the commercials that just randomly show up in the middle of the game. Just, I don't know if it's like at intentional like time spots or whatever. It just kind of happen.
Yeah.
And it's weird because they all are filmed like shit. They're all mic'd up like shit. And they're just doing some random thing where they're like, oh, an invisible dog toy, like I said earlier, or something else. Lasts for like 5 seconds. And then it's gone. But like, because you can't comprehend what they're saying, it's like what's going on here, Yeah.
That the ending, like trip to reality, that to me, that would be like if like a modern game like literally just ended and was like, all right, go outside.
Touch some grass.
Yeah.
You kid.
Something like that. Just just kind of meta on the nose. But yeah, other than that though, that's really all there is to Twisted. It's a very simple yet fascinating. I don't even want to call it a game. It's an experience.
It's a game show.
Yeah.
But with like game show games, like say a Mario Party or a Jackbox or potentially a Sonic Shuffle, they're there is some replay value in it, because with these you have to, or even like a Wheel of Fortune or Jeopardy video game, there is enough like sort of replayability that it could warrant like bringing it out once in a while. Because like I'm a big fan of Wheel of Fortune in general, and I've played a bunch of the video game releases of them. And I mean, despite it all being the same thing, the variety comes in from like the different puzzles they give you, and some of them are like culturally relevant to that era or not. Or seeing how some of the earlier Wheel of Fortune games, when you get to the bonus round, they don't give you R, S, T, L, N, and E, because at the start they didn't, but everybody would just pick the same letters. So they eventually just set up puzzles to where they give you those, and then you choose your 3 consonants and a vowel. I forget when that change happened, but but even still, like, there's enough variety within the puzzles or the way the game is like designed to where it's interesting, at least to someone like me, and you could play them once in a while. With Twisted, you play it once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times at the most, and you're just like, this is the same thing. Like, it doesn't really change that much. Like, even the mini games, even if there is some variety in them, it's like the core of it is so basic that I don't know what would be the point after a while,
So I always kind of see this as one of those games where it's more like you don't play it for your own personal enjoyment. You play it to like, you play it basically just with other people to like see their reactions to it. And like, I feel like this would have been a great party game back in the day.
I mean, potentially. There wasn't a lot of options at the time, I guess. And nowadays you'd play it just because you're just curious to like what this is, because games aren't really made like this anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, you pop it on for like some friends nowadays and just watch them stare at it and be like, what, why are you making me play this? That kind of thing. But it's not bad. What's weird is seeing like reviews at the time for this. Like, people praise this game.
I mean, for the time, I understand, just because it was pretty unique.
EGM gave it an 8.2 out of 10.
3DO Magazine gave it a 3 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's
Entertainment Weekly gave it an A-. Entertainment Weekly.
Famitsu didn't even bother to review it.
Yeah. They missed out on a banger. But then, yeah, like, some people gave it like 7s out of 10s or some 9s out of 10s.
Ironically, the lowest score I see is either GamePro or 3DO Magazine. Yeah,
like GamePro is what, a 16.5 out of 20? Why are they doing out of 20? Were they hipsters?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, GamePro doesn't even exist anymore. So
a lot of these don't exist anymore.
I think EGM still does.
I know. EGM definitely does. They're one of the few.
Are they the ones that like you get them if you get like a GameStop sub now?
That's Game Informer.
Game Informer, right. Yeah, because I had that GameStop Pro membership for a little bit, and I would get the Game Informers. I would read them maybe once and then just throw them away.
So I have
I wish I kept those, because
out of
reading
context,
old...
I have a tote like in my basement right now full of Game Informers.
Yeah, because reading like the old ones nowadays is so fascinating.
Oh yeah, there's some weird shit in there.
Yeah, because thinking back, I'm like, I should have kept those, because those are cool. But it's like reading modern game magazines like at the time kind of sucks, but reading them as historical documents is like fascinating.
Yeah,
it
really is.
It's like picking up like a newspaper from like 1972, like and just reading through that. It's like, this is fascinating.
Yeah, no, it really is.
Yeah, but I mean, I could see why people would rate this really high, because it is such a unique experience, but it got overshadowed like not that long after. Like, when was the first Mario Party? Like 98, maybe?
It would have had to have been, because the N64 didn't come out until
96.
Yes. Yeah. So
Mario Party 1, December 18th, 1998.
Yep.
So, yeah, like in 4 years, like Twisted was kind of rendered obsolete.
Yeah, and I mean, Twisted is definitely
and I don't even like Mario Party 1.
Well, Mario Party 1 is rough.
Yeah, it's kind of bad. Like, weirdly enough, I think I would prefer Twisted just for the wackiness of it. Like Mario Party didn't really find itself to what 3 or 4.
2 is the one that people like because 2 had a lot of fun things, but I think 3 is
Eh.
3 is the best one on N64.
I mean, 3 is the closest to a Waluigi game we've ever gotten.
Waluigi Island, I love that.
Yeah, and he's like the main bad guy of the game canonically.
It's
It's
funny.
awesome.
The 2 games where he's the main bad guy are that and DDR Mario Mix.
I know. I love that.
Such a weird
Yeah.
little footnote.
Yeah, but when the Mario parties hit the GameCube, that's really when they like hit their stride.
Oh, Mario Party 6 is an underrated gem.
Yeah. Though weirdly enough, I think my favorite Mario Party is 8. The last one Hudson Soft made.
Oh, the Waggle one?
I kind of like that one. I don't know why.
See, it has some fun mini games, but whenever I think of Mario Party 8, I think of the soda shaking mini game, and I'm just like, this looks so bad.
Yeah, because Mario Party is a rare occasion where like the waggle works because it's a party game, so it's like you don't want to have intricate motion controls, and then seeing people like waggle like fucking crazy trying to like get the mini game right. Mario Party 8 is, the few times I played it with friends, it was super enjoyable.
Oh, it's fun to play
because you sweat like crazy, and it's a blast.
That's one of my favorite. Just one more thing before we go back to Twisted. One of my favorite, like, just hilarious, like disappointed dad moments ever was I was at a friend's house. We were playing.
Your dad?
No. This was back when we were kids. This wasn't my dad. This was my friend's dad. I had brought the Wii over, and we were playing Mario Party 8, and it was the soda shaking mini game, and all of us were doing the motion, and his dad walked down, looked at us, and just saw us, and it literally looked like we were all just whacking off in the corner. And he just shook his head and just walked away. He was like, I don't have time for this.
It's like you should just put on porn because it's easier to explain.
It's like, I can explain. No, I can't.
Twisted doesn't make you do any of that, though.
No, Twisted, your parents are more confused for other reasons.
Yeah. If somebody walks in on you playing Twisted all by yourself, I have a feeling they're probably going to call, what's the mental health hotline now? 988? They'll probably just call that and be like, I have somebody you need to talk to.
Yeah. And I guess to keep up my little running gag, there is no memory manager in Twisted, so if you have an FC1...
There is not. There's no menu.
Yeah, there isn't.
Like you just turn on the game and it just goes, and then when you finish the game, it just resets itself.
Yeah.
Like you can pause the game, and it just has like paused in the corner, but that's it.
Yeah, so
there's not even a menu.
If you have to manage your memory, you can't use Twisted, but don't worry, you don't have to save with Twisted. So
yeah, there's nothing to save.
Yeah,
because like one round takes like 40 minutes, maybe,
depending on how you play.
Yeah. But hey, this is now technically the first 3DO game I beat, so I put it in the beaten list because I did beat it technically.
All right.
And it's game 54 for the year for me.
Nice.
So right next to Mortal Kombat 9 and Super Mario Galaxy is Twisted the Game Show, where it fits.
Yes.
And if you're curious, I gave it a 6 out of 10.
That's not that. That's about right. Honestly.
Like, yeah, it's very much a 6. Like, for what it is, it's not bad. Am I ever going to play it again? Probably not.
Unless you have like friends or something. I doubt it.
it or if, by some random chance, some lady comes over and is just looking at all my stuff, and she's like, what's this thing that says Twisted? And I'm going to go, oh, honey, you're not prepared for this.
Well, yeah, because you're going to have to give her the explanation of what the 3DO is, and that's going to already be that's already going to be a...
I mean, if she's following me to my house, I think she's willing to accept whatever's coming.
Yeah. All right. Now I guess we should get to the point of the episode where we give our final ranking. So we have a little segment we like to call, is this game a must play, an okay, or a stay away? What would you call this one, Thrak?
It is an okay.
Yeah,
it's between okay and must play. Like, it's arguably a must play if you're going to be like a 3DO collector, or like if you want to be like a 3DO expert or something.
Yeah,
it's a must play. But if you're just some like random casual, I'd say it's an okay if you like weird stuff. you know.
Yeah.
But it's not a stay away. Like, no, it's definitely worth experiencing. You know, at most maybe you watch like a YouTube video of it,
Yeah.
and you'd probably get the same experience. You know.
Yeah, I'd also call this one an okay. Like it's not a bad game. Like it really isn't. Like it does everything it wants to.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say so. If you're gonna be a 3DO collector, I don't think you have to own this one, but I mean, you should own it. I guess I should say.
If you're going to be a 3DO collector, it's an easy add to the collection because you can get it for not that much money and get the complete box of it as well for pretty cheap.
Yeah.
In fact, going on eBay right now, a complete unboxed copy will run you 25 bucks, and it's everything. So
yeah,
I mean, and there are jewel case versions of it, but they run for like roughly the same amount of money, so you might as well just go for the big box of it.
Yeah.
So.
And it's a fun discussion piece on your shelf.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like, why is this twink looking at me? And it's like, how'd you know his name?
Yeah.
Like, what?
When was Chandler Bing in a video game? But yeah.
Jesus
so,
Christ.
what do you think we should play next?
Well, I'd like to do Return Fire.
Okay, we can do Return Fire. That's considered one of the killer apps of the 3DO. So this should be fun.
It's an actual game.
What, you mean you don't like whatever twist it is?
I mean, it's one of those, like, it's about as much of a game as, like, Wheel of Fortune on the Sega Genesis, But I love that to death. I grew up with that, so it means a lot to me. But
my final thoughts on Twisted is I don't regret playing it, but I'm still not sure exactly what I played.
Yeah, it's like a fever dream.
It really was. It's like Metroid Prime 4. I'm convinced.
No, that's real.
I know. Sometimes I wonder.
Hey, you know what? I'll put this on the podcast. I will make this known. I predict the September Nintendo Direct, we will see Metroid Prime 4. I'm going to make that bold prediction right now. If I'm wrong, I don't know. We'll figure out some kind of punishment for me if I'm wrong. But I'm convinced it will be there. I think it's time.
All right.
And especially because I've heard some rumors about it, that some people are playing it at the moment.
I hope so, because it's been fucking forever since that was announced. But anyways, with that, guys, so next time we will be covering Return Fire. And once again, guys, thanks for joining us for the 3DO Experience. 3DO Experience, I can't talk today. 3DO Experience can be found on all the major podcasting platforms. You can follow all of our links at linktree/thebarberwhogames, and you can join us on the GNC Podcast Discord server, where a lot of cursed shit happens and some other gaming stuff. It's starting to get a bit more active. We've Kermit the Frog is our mascot now, apparently. I don't know. But with that, guys,
we need to fix that.
Yeah. But with that, guys, we'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.
If you're not playing on a 3DO system, what are you playing with?